The biggest advantage for the Xbox Series X could be its machine learning powered shader cores. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for stopping by. If you're new here and you enjoy this content, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. I'm getting all the next gen consoles on day one and we'll be making tons of videos on those. So if you're interested in that, make sure to stay tuned. But for now, let's get into this. Recently, Microsoft and Xbox announced that the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S are the only next generation consoles with full hardware support for the full capabilities of the RDNA2 architecture. And I talked about what those capabilities are. I'll leave the link into the description below, as well as leave something up here on the video. Now with that, the biggest advantage for the Xbox Series X could be the machine learning powered shader cores. This comes from an interview with David Cage, the CEO and founder of Quantic Dream. He highlighted the Xbox Series X's shader cores as a more suitable for machine learning tasks, which could allow the consoles to perform a DLSS-like performance enhancing image reconstruction technique. Now, DLSS is a NVIDIA feature. It's on the RTX cards. So obviously the Xbox Series X is not using the actual NVIDIA and DLSS because they're using an AMD GPU, but being able to create something like this within the Xbox Series X's GPU will definitely give it a big advantage. And what is DLSS? So this is from the NVIDIA site, and this says here that DLSS is deep learning super sampling, which is an NVIDIA RTS technology that uses the power of AI to boost your frame rates in games with graphically intensive workloads. With DLSS, gamers can use resolutions and settings while still maintaining solid frame rates. And basically what it does is it frees up the GPU resources for rendering, which can lead to increased frames per second and image quality. And as we know, ray tracing is a major feature with these next generation consoles, and ray tracing is extremely taxing on the GPU. So the ability to actually free up resources and keep those frame rate steady will be a big advantage going into the next generation. So here is what David Cage said in this interview. It is always challenging to compare hardware, as they always have advantages and disadvantages. It's not just a matter of CPU or frequency, it's more about the consistency of components and the possibilities of advanced features. The CPU of the two consoles uses the same processor, slightly faster on the Xbox Series X. The GPU of the Xbox also seems more powerful, as it is 16% faster than the PS5 GPU, with a bandwidth that is 25% faster. The transfer speeds from the SSD is twice as fast on the PS5. The shader cores of the Xbox are also more suitable to machine learning, which could be an advantage if Microsoft succeeds in implementing an equivalent to NVIDIA's DLSS. Overall, I think that the pure analysis of the hardware shows an advantage for Microsoft, but experience tells us that the hardware is only part of the equation. Sony showed in the past that their consoles could deliver the best looking games because their architecture and software were usually very consistent and efficient. Now, I think that's a very valid point he makes at the end, that at the end of the day, it's going to be how the developers are able to use what's available to them to pull out the most resources and get the most power out of these consoles. That will definitely show the best graphics. But by looking at what DLSS can do by really freeing up resources on a GPU, allowing you to have a higher image quality without reducing frame rates, in fact, even be able to increase your frame rates because of this, it's a big advantage going into the next generation, as some of the biggest features that are touted are things like 4K 60 FPS up to 120 FPS. So people are really looking for that higher frame rate in the games that are coming out. Now, Microsoft is obviously going to have to replicate DLSS in some way or another, and that's going to be done with the DirectML, which is direct machine learning. Basically, it's going to allow the Xbox Series X and S to support machine learning for games with DirectML, a component of DirectX. DirectML leverages unprecedented hardware performance in a console, with the Xbox Series X benefiting from over 24 teraflops of 16-bit float performance and over 97 tops of 4-bit integer performance on the Xbox Series X. Machine learning can improve a wide range of areas, such as making NPCs much smarter, providing vastly more lifelike animation, and greatly improving visual quality. So from a visual quality standpoint, I think this is going to be a big advantage going forward into the next generation if third parties, if the Xbox game studio companies can take advantage of DirectML. And we can see here that they kind of already started working with this. So if we look at this article here, PlayFab, who is a company of Microsoft acquired back in early 2018, has been working on making tools for the backend games supported in the cloud. And PlayFab is using the power of Microsoft's Azure servers and AI to upscale low resolution textures in real time. Now, they had an interview with VentureBeat saying that one of the studios inside of Microsoft has been experimenting with using ML, so machine learning models, for asset generation. And what they've been able to do with this is they've been able to use this machine learning and use SDR to HDR conversions. So basically this here is saying that they have been doing this with the Xbox Series X using machine learning to convert SDR to HDR in a few games, including Halo 5 in real time. We got to see the Xbox One X enhanced version of Halo 5 operating with a very convincing HDR implementation, even though 343 Industries never shipped the game with HDR support. Microsoft ATG principal software engineer Claude Murray showed us how machine learning algorithm using Gears 5 state-of-the-art HDR implementation to able to infer a full HDR implementation from SDR content on any backwards compatible title. We've seen many other examples of that already with the auto HDR on the backwards compatible game on the Xbox Series X and S. And then here is the most important thing, I think, going forward into the next generation that can definitely give the Xbox Series X and S an advantage because of this machine learning. And if they make it somewhat like DLSS 2.0, this here is saying deep learning super sampling uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to produce an image that looks like a higher resolution image without the rendering overhead. And that's massive. That's very big because ray tracing, like I said, is so taxing on the GPUs, and being able to free up resources while having ray tracing, while having better image quality and keeping those frame rates steady is going to be a really, really good thing. The AI algorithm learns from the tens of thousands of rendered sequences of images that were created using a supercomputer that trains the algorithm to be able to produce similarly beautiful images, but without requiring the graphics card to work as hard to do it. So yeah, this could actually end up being a big game changer going into the next generation. These next generation consoles, we're not going to see the full power of them for a decent amount of time after launch. You're gonna have the best experience with cross-generational games, obviously on the Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, or the PS5, but we're not going to see the true powers of what these consoles can actually do in graphical upgrades, in frame rates, and all that kind of stuff until a couple of months, maybe years down the road, when developers are able to learn and grow and really pull out the full power of these consoles. I think that's going to be amazing to see going forward into the next generation. That's what I'm really excited for. I'm also really excited for, obviously, for those shorter load times right off the bat. That's what you're going to see instantly as a major upgrade from the Xbox One and the PS4. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. What do you think about DirectML? What do you think about this machine learning stuff? Do you think this is going to be a big advantage for the Xbox going into the next generation? Do you think PlayStation is going to have something similar to this as well? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you enjoy what you see, hey, maybe consider subscribing to help this channel grow. I would really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and thank you for all your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.